Britain's generals fought on every front of World War II, from the deserts of North Africa to the fields of Normandy to the steaming jungles of Burma. But who was the most talented? To answer, we'll look beyond fame and examine the battles that defined their reputations. Montgomery's career-defining moment came at the Second Battle of El Alamein in October 1942. Facing Erwin Rommel's Afrika Korps and Italian allies dug in along a 40-mile front, Montgomery built up overwhelming artillery and armour before launching a meticulously planned assault. Over 12 days, his forces broke through, forcing Rommel into a long retreat across Libya. This victory transformed British morale and ended Axis hopes of taking Egypt. In Normandy, Montgomery commanded all Allied ground forces during the critical early phase after D-Day. At Operation Epsom and later Operation Goodwood, British and Canadian troops pinned down German panzer divisions, including the 12th SS and Panzer Lehr, preventing them from moving south to crush the American breakout at St. Lo. While critics argued he promised more than he delivered in these operations, the strategy ultimately worked. The Germans were tied up, and the Allies burst through in Operation Cobra. Montgomery's strengths were preparation and morale building, but his caution sometimes frustrated both subordinates and allies. When Lieutenant General Bill Slim took over the British 14th Army in 1943, his men were weary from years of retreat in Burma. He rebuilt them into an effective jungle fighting force. His greatest test came in 1944, when the Japanese launched Operation Yugo, aiming to invade India through Imphal and Kohima. At Kohima, just 1,500 British and Commonwealth defenders held a ridge against thousands of Japanese soldiers in brutal, close-quarters fighting. Battles fought over a tennis court, trench by trench, reinforced by Slim's forces. The British and Indian troops counterattacked and drove the Japanese back. Meanwhile, at Imphal, Slim used air supply to keep his army fighting, an innovation in a theatre with no roads and monsoon-swollen rivers. The Japanese suffered over 50,000 casualties in the twin defeats, losing almost their entire invasion force. Slim then launched a lightning offensive in late 1944, recapturing Mandalay and Rangoon. His ability to manage logistics, coordinate multinational forces, and outthink a determined enemy in impossible terrain makes his record extraordinary. In December 1940, General Richard O'Connor commanded the Western Desert Force in Operation Compass against the Italians in Libya. Outnumbered more than 3-1, O'Connor used deception, speed and surprise to overwhelm Italian fortified camps. His small mechanized force swept across 500 miles in just 10 weeks, capturing the key port of Bardia, the fortress of Tobruk, and finally, Bida Fom, where his troops cut off the Italian retreat and took over 25,000 prisoners in a single action. By February 1941, O'Connor had captured more than 130,000 Italians, destroyed 10 divisions, and effectively ended Italy's offensive capacity in North Africa. Unfortunately, O'Connor was captured by a German patrol shortly after Rommel's arrival, cutting short a career that could have rivaled any Allied generals. Even so, his early campaigns remain among the most brilliant mobile operations of the war. Other contenders are Harold Alexander, who oversaw the final defeat of Axis forces in Tunisia in 1943, and later commanded the Allied forces in Italy, guiding them through the difficult battles of Salerno, Monte Cassino, and the Gothic Line. And Miles Dempsey, who commanded the British Second Army from D-Day through to the Rhine, skillfully managing the complex amphibious landings on Sword Beach, and later the rapid advances across Belgium and the Netherlands. But if talent means consistent operational brilliance combined with the ability to inspire, Bill Slim stands out. At Imphal and Kohima, he achieved decisive victories in some of the harshest fighting of the war, turning disaster into triumph with limited resources. Montgomery was Britain's most famous general and delivered at El Alamein and Normandy. O'Connor delivered perhaps the most stunning early war victory in North Africa. But Slim's mastery of strategy, logistics, and morale, recognized by allies and opponents alike, makes him Britain's most talented wartime general. Indeed, Eisenhower himself once said, "Of all the great leaders of World War II, I would rate Slim as the finest general." Thank you for watching. So, who do you think was the most talented British general of the Second World War? Let me know in the comments below. And please like, share and subscribe for more analysis of World War II.